It's time for today's travel and cruise industry news. With the latest from travel and cruises around the world, here's your host, Chillie Falls.
Hey, good morning and welcome to Travel and Cruise Industry News on this, the 25th day of February, 2020. Several things we need to cover this morning. And before I get to the stories at hand, good morning, Tom, by the way. I see he popped in bright and early. He says that he was just watching a video from David Abel, and he's doing much better. Glad to hear that, Tom. Of course, David Abel was a gentleman that was on the Princess cruise ship that was quarantined and did some live broadcast of his own from that ship that all of us have followed for some time now. So thanks for that update this morning, Tom. Yesterday, some of you are aware that I did a video on a Chillie's Cruises deal of the day on the Norwegian Pearl, which sailed on, was set to sail on the 1st. So a short-termer at $199, that's less than $29 per day, which was an absolute steal. Now, the Chillie Cruises deal of the day, I've been having emails and comments all along. When am I doing another deal of the day? When am I doing another deal of the day? So I'm going to try to do the deals of the day on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You know, we do these news shows on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. See if I can't find a deal of the day on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday each day. So we did one yesterday, a really good one. 7-day cruise for $199, starting at $199. The ocean views weren't bad. Of course, it was a little bit more expensive for the balconies, but that's normal. By 2 o'clock yesterday, the cruise was sold out. So, I mean, it went in a heartbeat. But Norwegian did something that was kind of interesting. They extended the same offer to the following cruise which sails on the 8th. So that cruise is up on my website, and if I remember to do it, I'll put a link in the description below here, so you can check that out if you're interested. So that's a 7-night cruise on the 8th of March from Miami on the Norwegian Pearl, which is just a dynamite deal. It's a Western Caribbean cruise, stops at Roatan, Harvest Key, Costa Maya, and Cozumel. So I'm going to try to do those on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, which means that tomorrow there'll be another deal of the day if I can find anything adequate. So that'll be my homework for tonight, to come up with a deal of the day for tomorrow. So, but we'll work on that and see what we can come up with. The other thing, don't forget about Friday afternoon. Somewhere it's going to be between 1 and 2 o'clock. I'm not sure of the exact time yet. Chillie Chats will have Emma Latisse from Cruising Isn't Just for Old Folks, which is her Facebook group. She's also known by her YouTube channel as Emma Cruises. She's just done a fabulous video on the Virgin Voyages new ship, the Scarlet Lady, which she was on over the weekend. Might be Emma's best work. Really sharp. I enjoyed it immensely. Somewhat unusual either for Emma or I, who are both, major believers in the cruises and cruise industry, and very rarely ever get upset about something to do with the cruise. Emma was not totally happy with the Scarlet Lady, and I found it compelling. So We will have some interesting talks about Emma on Friday with both her new cruise academy for new folks to the cruise industry and her take on the Scarlet Lady. So I'm looking forward to that. It'll be Friday afternoon, the Eastern Standard Time. A lot depends on when she gets home from work, but 1 to 2 our time in the afternoon. Jump over here real quickly. I see Gretchen's with us. Good morning, Gretchen. Glad to see you again this morning as well. Okay, so obviously the news yesterday was pretty terrific on the stock market and related items. Cruise travel and leisurely stocks were down sharply after just the awful day on Wall Street. Cruise ship company stock prices sank Monday amid a larger market rout triggered by escalating fears over health issues beyond China. Norwegian led the way down with shares of the cruise ship company plunging 6.98%, followed by Carnival, which dropped 5.85%, and Royal Caribbean 5.33%. Now the Dow dropped 3.5% overall, so the cruise stocks took a considerably larger hit, especially since some of the price adjustment had already been factored into the stocks on the Asian market. With some of those cancellations and stuff, that's already been factored into the market. So it was a really rough day for the cruise stocks. And then right after the close yesterday, United Airlines pulled back their projections for the year. And within a couple minutes, Visa pulled back their projections for the year and lowered them. And of course, both of those stocks overnight dropped considerably. So this is affecting not only just the cruise industry, it's now spreading into airline stocks. I didn't even think about things like credit card, Visa financial end of things. So there are escalating fears. Now, this is triggered by several things, folks, and I don't want to be an alarmist about that this is all health issue things. It's certainly triggered by increased fears by the spread of that flu-like stuff that I'm not allowed to mention on the air. But that's not the whole picture. Yes, over the weekend, Iran, Korea, and now Italy are in play with the health issues and legitimately in play. So that's obviously a bad thing. We were due some technical adjustment on the markets anyway. And then there's a group of people that feel that that Bernie Sanders winning the primary on Saturday in Nevada, that the market reacted negatively to that. Well, the way I look at it, Bernie Sanders win and a possible nomination in the market, that should send the markets up, because that would probably be something that the Trump folks would like, because that would be, I mean, you'd think Trump with his financial expertise and the way the economy has gone these past couple of years, and I'm not getting into a political thing, folks, so don't pin me down on that. I'm not saying whether I am a Trump supporter or not, but the economy has been sound. And that you'd think would continue, as opposed to the possibility of what admittedly is a democratic socialist. I would think the markets would be totally opposed to that, which means that should he get the nomination, they'd be in favor of it. So anyway, the market took a major dive yesterday. and again, there's technical reasons for it as well, but it was triggered by the whole health situation. Norwegian braced for a hit and adjusted their earnings over all of 2020, and they're saying possibly as much as 75 cents a share. They dropped from 73 cents a share profits to 48 cents a share for the first quarter. So these are all things that are not good. And analysts of one of the major houses downgraded their rating on Norwegians from they downgraded the stock to hold from buy, citing canceled cruises and the challenges of redeploying ships to other regions. So yeah, that's a major issue, and it's going to be another hit for this industry. So what's going on to cause it on the worldwide scheme of things? Over the weekend, the news has prompted Royal Caribbean and Celebrity to update their health screening protocols in an effort to keep this, we're just going to call it this flu-like stuff so I don't get into trouble with YouTube, from impacting its cruise ships. Until further notice, all ships in the Royal Caribbean Cruise Limited fleet, which includes Royal Caribbean and Celebrity, will follow the following screening protocols. And this is a direct quote from Royal Caribbean. Any guest who has traveled from, to, or through mainland China, Hong Kong, Macau, Iran, South Korea, and the Italian regions of Lombardy and Veneto in the past 15 days will have their boarding denied. Any guest who has come in contact with anyone with 15-day prior travel to mainland China, Hong Kong, Macau, Iran, South Korea, and the Italian regions of Lombardy and Veneto, the CDC characterizes contact with an individual as coming within 6 feet of a person. Guests who report feeling unwell or demonstrate any flu-like symptoms, and there will be mandatory specialized health screenings performed on any person who has traveled from, to, or through Japan, Singapore, Thailand, and Italy, all regions other than Lombardy or Veneto, in the past 15 days. So the first batch are ones that are going to have their boarding denied. The second batch, which is a little more liberal, will have mandatory health screenings. Guests who are uncertain about contact with individuals who have traveled from, to, and through mainland China, Hong Kong, Macau, South Korea, Japan, Singapore, Thailand, and Italy in the past 15 days will also be in the health screening batch. Guests presenting with fever or low blood oximetry in the specialized health screenings will be denied boarding. All guests who are denied boarding due to these things will receive refunds. Royal Caribbean is also taking additional steps to stop the spread of these flu-like symptoms by thoroughly sanitizing cruise ship terminals before and after every sailing, special sanitizing of high traffic areas on board multiple times a day, adding additional medical staff on each sailing, providing complimentary consultations with medical experts for all guests and crew. Plus, the captain will make at least 2 daily announcements during the cruise, reminding everyone of how to stay healthy on board. Now, that's the new protocols that were issued yesterday by Royal Caribbean and Celebrity. Obviously, those protocols were in place for China excuse me, and the other areas before. So they've added Iran, South Korea, and the areas in Italy to the protocols. Sorry about the throat, folks. Wow. Be a good time to stop for a second for a commercial break, and I'll get my throat back. Do you have a bad back, bad hips, bad knees, or any other mobility issues? Think about Scootaround. For scooters, walkers, wheelchairs, even oxygen needs, delivered right to your cabin. Scootaround for all your mobility needs on your upcoming cruise. Wow. Thankfully, I got through that. Sorry about that, folks. Actually, I thought I was about over this cold business that I came home with. The throat had been better. The cough had virtually gone. But obviously, it's still a little scratchy. These new restrictions come after increase in cases in Italy, South Korea, and Iran. As of this morning, there have been more than 79,000 confirmed cases of that flu-like stuff, which has a name, which I don't know if I'm allowed to use the name with a number in it or not, so I don't. Around the world, and more than 2,600 deaths. There are currently 229 cases in Italy, with 7 people deceased. 172 cases are in the Lombardy region in the north country, including Milan. South Korea now has 830 cases and 7 deaths. We're expecting more cruise lines to update the restrictions after advice from CDC and the WHO through the last 24 hours. So you're going to see more of this, folks. Milan, northern Italy, they had the Carnival going on, and now that's done. That's canceled. It's Fashion Week in Milan. They had some of the fashion shows yesterday that had absolutely nobody there. So people they're getting out of the region. They're blocking trains going out of northern Italy now into Germany. So they're trying to keep this thing from spreading, taking steps that they have to. And of course, for the cruise industry, we're going into the summer European season, which is another major season in the industry. So it's just not a good situation, and one that, again, as we've said before, I don't see an end to this until they get a total handle on that flu-like stuff and get some, some kind of medication shots to completely, or find out completely how to stop the thing, which they're working on, obviously. One of the companies sent some medicine in for testing, and it's going to be several months before they know if the stuff's any good or not. So this is just not a good situation at all. Now, would I start canceling cruises like people are going into full panic mode? No. Obviously, if you can fly there, I'd go at this point. That's subject to change over the next couple of days as we'll see what happens in Europe. I can almost understand the engagement now of Iran because of the restrictions placed on Iran. They can't fly out of Iran anywhere except to China. That's the only place that that air restrictions are. The Chinese did not go along with any of the restrictions that the United States placed on Iran. So their only access is through China. So I can see that being a problem. The close proximity with South Korea and North Korea to the Chinese mainland, I can understand that as a problem. The big bugaboo in all this is Europe. How that got started, they're trying to figure that out. What's the nexus for they're calling it ground zero, the person that started it in Italy, and where that person came in contact with it. So those things are still not known yet. Again, I have a cruise booked, in May, and I'm not even thinking about canceling. And now that's an Alaska cruise, but still, I can understand people's concern, especially this seems to affect the elderly a lot more. But again, folks, if the airlines are still flying there, all probability, you're going to be reasonably safe as long as you take the normal procedures and precautions to continue cruising. Certainly, that's my belief. And I do not want to be an alarmist with this. However, it's clearly something we got to continue watching. So, one other thing before I get to the comments, folks. We had an issue over the weekend with Carnival Pride and their delays. Well, yesterday things went terribly wrong for the elation, as they had technical issues very similar to the Carnival Pride, as far as propulsion issues that slowed them down drastically. They were also fighting high seas and wind, which slowed them down. So the captain made the decision that they were going to skip the visit to Amber Cove. So the current cruise, it's a 5-day cruise out of Port Canaveral. They're skipping Amber Cove. They're working on the technical issues. It's almost identical to what the Pride went through over the weekend. And of course, they were some probably 8 hours late getting into Baltimore, which delayed the next sailing. So the elation is going through similar circumstances. And they cut out going to Amber Cove. As I've said a couple times, I loved Amber Cove. I really did. That was a great stop for me. So that's the other story today. So let's jump back over here and see if anybody says anything. Tom and Gretchen, we talked about. B. Bergs. Hi, everyone. That's not a name I know. Welcome aboard. Glad to have you with us. Welcome, Bonnie from Gretchen. Okay, so B. Bergs is Bonnie. Okay. Tom says, guess I need to check all passports for people I pass. Yeah, well, that wording on that's a little, they're talking if you come in contact with 6 feet of somebody. How the hell do you know that? Especially if you're going through airports and things. I mean, that's intense. So that's all in that the protocols now for Royal Caribbean and Celebrity. And I wouldn't be surprised if today, Carnival and Norwegian and everybody else comes out with the same thing. Tom Henry, are you on a cruise now or flying out today? Tom is getting ready to go to South America. I can't remember Tom's schedule, so he'll have to answer that one. Just saw above comment on was 1 o'clock on Thursday. I'll be getting ready. Okay, that's Bonnie. Okay, now I see. She changed her log. Bonnie changed her login. It's now I'm catching on. B Bergs that's Bubba. Bonnie with Bubba. Tom departs Wednesday evening at 6 o'clock in Miami. Okay. What's going to happen with MSC ships in the Caribbean with so many Italian passengers and crews? That's a good question. A number of cruises from ships from this area are doing European stints this year. Yeah, good question, Bonnie. And I don't have an answer to that one yet. Obviously, a lot's going to be in the next couple of days on how well they've contained this in the one region. But yeah, there's some possibilities of us seeing some major changes over there. No home visits for the crew. Yeah, they're safer on the ship than they are going home. Bonnie was having trouble logging into YouTube, so she changed her name, and having trouble logging into PayPal might have something to do with the old AOL account. Tom says, I hope Europe calms down before his April 9th cruise. And Bonnie says it's sad that some of Carnival's older ship will probably be scuttled. Yeah, there's several ships that they're considering what to do with them. And this whole thing is not helping any of that. What the first hit to the cruise industry came when the travel restrictions were added on for Cuba, and you had a lot of these smaller, older ships that could sail in and out of Cuba, then now can't go into Cuba, or can't take Americans into Cuba, which virtually cut that out, although some people are still traveling to Cuba, but certainly not as many as when the American passengers could go. So that was a hit to the cruise industry, and they had to do all kinds of relocating and rescheduling of all of these ships. Now we've had the Asian quadrant completely cut out of the cruise industry for this year. There are 21 ships total that were affected, that have been affected already by their schedules having to be changed, cruises canceled, itineraries changed, all of that. In the Asian market, all of this costs money, folks, to the cruise lines, not just the specific ships that have the issues like the Diamond Princess. Clearly, they have had an issue when they were totally quarantined and stuck. Then you have the Westerdam that couldn't go into port for a whole bunch of ports, and that turned out to be false news. There was, at least to my knowledge, there was never a case on the Westerdam that was ever finalized or confirmed. There was a Genting cruise, the World something or another, that got quarantined. So, I mean, all of these things are costing the cruise industry money. So it's not surprising that the stocks are taking a beating, and they're probably going to take a bigger beating. But then what are they going to, because they're not having the year that they were hoping to have, then they got to make some of the harder decisions with what to do with some of these marginal ships that could still show them a profit on certain itineraries. in certain areas that are, they become very marginal. And do they continue or do they dump? So there can be a lot of changes yet, folks, in the cruise industry, I'm afraid. Okay, Tom mentioned he was talking about his April cruise, New York to Halifax, Dublin, Belfast, Lavar, Champagne, Portland, and Southampton. So he's going to Europe after he gets back from South America. But he's just got some fabulous cruises that he's going on. I'm so jealous. Bonnie says she's cruised on the Elation in the early 90s. I've been on the Elation also, Bonnie. Of course, Tom says, thanks. It's been a rough ride with NCL changing dates, and the Stars captain in question and answer this week denied there was any issue or changes. Yeah, that I get aggravated, Tom, at some of the stuff that they try to ignore, and they shouldn't. They should meet it head on. When there's an issue, go ahead and say it. Get it out there on the table, because you got guys like me and guys like Bruce and a number of other influencers in the travel industry that are we're staying on top of everything we possibly can as it affects cruises and cruise ships, just so we can keep our audience informed. So, don't sugarcoat it, guys. Put it on the table. I mean, we're still supporting you. I am, at least. I'm supporting the cruise industry. I'm not going to run away from this. And I think the majority of people, unless it gets to being a really major health concern, will do so. So that's why I don't want to be an alarmist. I don't want people to absolutely go freaky on this. So at any rate, okay, that's it for today, guys. If you're new to this channel, and by the way, we continue a nice steady growth. We're up to 1,880 something subscribers, just shy of 1,900. So we've had steady growth. So we could have some new folks out there. If you're new to this channel, folks, we regularly post videos on all facets of the cruise and travel industry, including cruise ships, ports of call, cruises themselves, my interview show called Chillie Chats, which we'll have on Friday with Emma Latisse from Cruising Isn't Just for Old People. By the way, Bonnie is one of the accepted old people. So am I. So we've got two that are in the inner circle of Cruising Isn't Just for Old People. They accept a couple old people. But anyway, if you're new to that, there's a subscribe button down there. Hit the subscribe button and you'll be kept up to date with all this stuff. And you'll be notified if you hit the bell notification when we are going live or when we get a new video posted. Then we've got the Chillie's Cruises Deal of the Day, which will now be on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I got to get used to talking about that one, folks. And down in the description of any of our videos, when they're on YouTube, you'll find links to all sorts of things like Viator excursions at any port of call on any cruise in the world. Feel free to follow those links to your possible destinations to investigate things you can do while you're in port. And this channel makes a little commission from that. As also, if you're going on a cruise and you book Scoot Around with the link in my little commercial that I said earlier, we make a couple pennies from that also. So we're here to talk about and help folks in the cruise industry, promoting it in any way we can. And Bonnie says, before I go, Bonnie says she'll be cruising in October, flying up to Quebec and then down through the through New England, and the ship will take her back to Fort Lauderdale. Oh, that's sweet. Quebec to Fort Lauderdale. That's awesome. And of course, she is a co-administrator on Emma's Facebook page, which is Traveling Isn't Just for Old People. So anyway, we love Emma to death, and I'm tickled pink that she's going to be here on Friday. I am so excited about that, guys. Be Friday afternoon. So anyway, that's it for today. I will have another episode of Chillie's Cruises Deal of the Day up tomorrow morning. I hope. I haven't found it yet, but we'll be looking for it tomorrow. So that's it for today, guys. Talk to you soon.
Thank you for watching today's travel and cruise industry news. Join us every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday morning at 6 a.m. Eastern for another episode. Travel and Cruise Industry News is a production of Chillie's Cruises.